I'm not physically building the systems if this is your first time watching this or watching any of my builds. I'm just going through some components that I would buy and some current sales that may be going on, and just kind of justify on some of the products I chose, and basically going through everything you're going to need to build a high-end system, whether it be the $600 price point, which we've done, $1,000, $1,500, and now we're going to jump up to around the $2,500 price point, which is a completely different class of system. You look at things slightly differently when you get up to that price point. If you're just doing casual gaming and you're not even playing some of the current games, or maybe you're not even using if you're just using this for Word and things like that, this probably isn't the system for you unless you're wanting to really get into some things. Besides the gaming, this thing's going to do excellent for about anything you can throw at it: gaming, video rendering, photo editing. If you're doing any type of audio files, if you're working with any type of that, it's going to process everything perfectly, hands down. Some of the components I chose, I actually have seen the majority of these or had some time with them and tested them. And I would personally stand behind all of them. Excellent products. Now let's jump in and get into some of the components of this build. Like I said, the price point I'm looking at is $2,500. Give or take, probably $25 to $50, depending on maybe some things you might choose to take out or put in. The case, I didn't go with a full tower case mainly because I don't see the need for it. I have a full tower case and I'm looking to upgrade to something a little smaller. If you see my mobile gaming build guide, there's so much you can do with a small form factor case, especially a well-designed one. If I could fit everything into the Silverstone TJ08-E, I would. If I could get a 2011 socket in there, which I'm pretty sure that people have done before, and I'm pretty sure I could do it, I might look to something like that, just because the bigger cases, while they're easy to build in, they allow lots of customization, they're big, and that's something that I see us getting away from. But for the case, I chose the Corsair 600T Steel Silver Series. It is a newer case, mainly in the fact that they changed the color on it. It's steel. But I kind of think that's a neat feature, because you don't see a whole lot of the steel silver series cases. It looks excellent in pictures. Some of the videos I've seen of it, it looks top quality. I'm really happy about that there. And it's got Corsair. It's $160, so it's not really that expensive if you compare it to some of the other full tower cases. It'll handle motherboards up to ATX, so you do have to keep that in mind when you're looking at your motherboards. But it's an excellent case. Like I said, cases you can really customize and get what you want, what you personally visually like. Just check some reviews out, make sure it's a good case, has good build quality, good cable management, easy to build in, and it's going to be able to cool your components the way you want. So for the motherboard, I went with the Asus Sabertooth X79. This has an Intel 2011 socket. Gets excellent reviews. I'm personally using it right now. I've had any issues with it. It's a huge upgrade from the 1155 socket. Hands down, I would have preferred maybe a black color instead of the military theme, but it's getting excellent reviews by many people out there, not just me. And these are professional people that are really using things a lot. They're more power users than I am. I do use my stuff on a daily basis and do render stuff pretty heavily, but they're using it extensively, and they really back that motherboard. So that's what we're choosing there, and that's $315. They currently have a $20 off on it right now, so it really makes it a good deal. For the CPU, I went with the Intel i5-3930K. Like I said, this is the 2011 socket. It's basically a bigger socket than the 1155. You can put more processors on there. It'll process things quicker. For gaming, you're probably not going to notice very much of a difference between the 1155 socket, let's say a 2600K processor. This one does have 6 cores, so any type of video editing, rendering, photo work you might be doing, if you're doing a lot of photo work, any type of multiple layers and processing those, any type of audio tuning if you're really into audio and you're maybe doing some file compression or anything like that. That's an excellent processor. It's mainly, I've seen the most performance I've seen out of this is in video processing and rendering. It will hands down destroy the 1155 socket. I mean, it's cutting my render times in half for videos, which is excellent. And I actually have it back here. So this is the motherboard, or this is the CPU, hands down. It's probably not worth it to get the Extreme Edition for that $400 price point. And this is going to run us at $550. Yes, that's expensive. It's really expensive, but like I said, it's got 6 cores. It's going to be a little future-proof. It is a dead socket, the 2011, but it's going to be a little future-proof in that this thing is going to be able to handle things for a long time to come. I mean, it's super fast. You have to watch your cooler. Make sure you got a good cooler to keep it cool. That's the only thing to take from there, but we put an excellent cooler in this build guide. For the power supply, I'm going to go with the XFX 1000 watt Pro 80 Plus Platinum. This is fully modular, and this is going to run us about $220. It's a pretty cool looking power supply, and it gets good reviews. XFX supplies great warranties, customer service, so you're not going to have any issues there. If you're not a big fan of XFX, there's a Seasonic 100 watt Platinum power supply. It's around the same price. Seasonic also builds excellent power supplies, but I went with this XFX because mainly I like the way it looks a little more. And I've actually dealt with XFX customer service, and it's excellent. I didn't have any issues with it. It was perfect. And if we want to throw 2 cards in here and run Crossfire SLI, it'll allow us the ability to do that. For the GPU, I'm going to give you 2 options. Same price. The price point was $430 for both of these, but this will please the AMD and the NVIDIA fans. And for the NVIDIA card, I went with the MSI Twin Frozer GTX 680. Excellent card, gets good reviews. It's got the Twin Frozer design, 2 fans, it's going to keep things cool. That's what we need. It does have CUDA, so if you're running any of the Adobe Premiere for your video rendering or video editing, I would stick with that card. It's going to accelerate that. It's just gonna make your life a little easier when you're processing video editing and rendering. And for the AMD side, I went with the XFX 7970 GHz Black Edition, and both these cards are running at $430. They're both excellent cards. Gaming-wise, they're going to perform very similar. Cooling-wise, they're probably going to perform pretty similar also. But like I said, if you're using Adobe Premiere, I would definitely get the GTX 680 just because that CUDA really allows it to, it just mixes well with that. If you're using something like I'm using Sony Vegas, so there's no real issue. You could pick either one if you're doing that. But they both perform about the same in your gaming performance. For the RAM, I went with the Corsair Dominator Platinum, and it's running at $140, and that's going to get us 16 gigabytes. It is 2 DIMMs, which allows us to only populate 2 of our DIMM slots. So in the future, it's going to be easy to expand and add 32 or even more gigabytes of RAM, depending on what we need. This is easily the best looking RAM out there. Like I said, when you install that into your motherboard, it actually has these cool little white LED lights that kind of glow. It just visually, it's the best looking RAM out there, and it's Corsair, so it's got great quality, great customer service. You don't have any issues there. And that's going to run us about 140 bucks. It's a little expensive. It does cost a little more than some of the other RAM, but if you're into looks and you're going to have a side panel on this, definitely bump up and get that. For the SSD, I'm going to go with the Samsung 830 series, 256 gigabyte, and that's running at $180 right now. This is going to be for our boot, for any games, any programs, if you're doing Adobe or Sony Vegas or anything like that. Photoshop, it's going to allow us to install that on there with no problem. And for our storage, I'm going to go with the Seagate Barracuda 2 terabyte 7200 RPM hard drive. And this is going to run us about $89. Hard drive prices are still dropping, so this allows us to get that 2 terabytes for any type of storage or anything you might need there. If you're spending $2,500 on a system and you're doing, a lot of videos, you probably have a NAS or some type of home server that you're backing your stuff up on. So if you need more than 2 terabytes, you could just add 89 bucks onto your total price here. But that should cover anything that we need to get to quickly. I personally don't have any hard drives in my system anymore. I went to all SSDs. So if you don't want to do that, drop that out and get another SSD. That would be what I would do. I have a couple SSDs in there. You can get even a 64 gigabyte one and do some caching to speed some things up. And for our cooler, I went with the Corsair H100. Performs better than any other cooler out there, unless you're doing some customized water cooling, which I do not want to mess with the hassle of that. I've been running this in my system. It's going to cost us $115. It's a little more expensive than it was a couple weeks ago. It was $100, but so we're going to have to pay that $115. But I've been running this, and it keeps the system really cool. And everyone's got to have Windows 7, so we just went with Windows 7 Professional. And this is also increasing in price. It's $140 right now. I mean, these prices were extremely lower when back when Windows 8 was first released, and everyone was getting excited about that. We're going to do Professional because this is going to be a more expensive build, and some of the benefits I see in Professional is that I have a home server, so if I want to remotely connect to my desktop, I can do that on the fly if I'm on my laptop somewhere and just out and about, and I need to get maybe a file off there or something. And for the Blu-ray, CD, DVD, I don't even have one of these, but I threw one in here because some people might still do the Blu-ray thing. We're just going to go with an Asus Blu-ray Writer Reader. They're about $60 right now. Found a pretty good deal on this one. It's got good reviews. Like I said, if you don't use Blu-ray or you're not using storage on Blu-ray disc, get rid of that. That's my thing there. If you're spending $2,500 on a system, you should get a sound card. I do not currently have a sound card, but I would die to have one. I just don't have the funds right now to throw out one, but definitely get a sound card. Any Asus Zonar sound card, grab, because you're going to notice a huge difference in sound. And we went with the Asus Zonar DS 7.1. It's a PCI sound card. Put it right in your PCI slot. It's $50. It's one of the cheaper ones, but like I said, you're going to still got good reviews. It's got as good reviews as the $200 one, so we went with that one. Like I said, you're gonna notice a difference. My friend's got a sound card in his, and I would die to just steal it out of his system and throw it in mine real quick. And we had a little bit extra bucks left, so we went with a couple Noctua NFP12 120mm fans. Noctua has great fans. They're quiet. They cool better. If you need some good fans, we'll probably put this in our Corsair H100, maybe do a push-pull. They do come with fans, the Corsair H100, but they're nowhere near the quality that Noctua has. And those are $20 for two of those. So our grand total for everything here is $2,470. So we actually were a little under that $2,500 price point. This is going to be an expensive build if you choose to go this route, but it's going to be a little more future-proof, especially in your rendering. The 2011 socket is kind of a dead socket, but stick with it. Trust me, over the 1155 socket, you're going to perform any type of rendering or anything like that much quicker. You might not see the performance in your gaming, but let's say if you're capturing some video off your games and then you're going to edit those and then render them, you're going to notice a big difference there. It's going to cut some time off of that process. All these components are high quality components. Many of them you could swap out, especially the case if you're not a big fan of the case. Everyone's got a different taste there. If you want to throw a Cooler Master or any other case that you might like out there at it, go for it. Motherboard's the same way, but if you're going to do the case of motherboard, just make sure that some of the other X79 motherboards are the extended versions. Make sure it's going to fit in your case. That's one thing that you might want to throw out there. So that's going to conclude my $2,500 build guide. Like I said, this will probably be the highest end that I would go. You don't really need SLI or Crossfire if you're running even at high resolution. I have a 7970 and I'm running at I think 2550 by 1600 or something like that. I don't have any problem playing any of the current games out right now. So you don't really need Crossfire or SLI at this point if you're going with the high-end cards. So I wouldn't worry about that. That would jump the price up significantly to $3,000 and I didn't want to do that. So if you'd like to see any more unboxings, reviews, tech news, any other guides like this, don't forget to subscribe. And next on my build guide list, I'm actually going to do a budget-oriented AMD build. And it's going to be significantly cheaper than that, well, not significantly, but it's going to be a decent percent cheaper than that $600 price point that we had on our other budget system. So stay tuned, and I'll have that up shortly, and thanks for watching.